Session. Okay, great. We are recording for anyone who wants to watch this later. Thank you everyone for joining us. And I think we're all here tonight because our county is really in the middle of multiple disasters. We're seeing things layer on top of each other. Of course, we were in the middle of a pandemic. Then we have just lived through the largest wildfire in our recorded history. Arguably, we're still recovering from the 2016 and 17 storms in terms of our roads. You can consider that, a lingering disaster or emergency. And then we have the power safety shutoffs, which are sort of planned emergencies. We know that they're going to happen, but nevertheless, they really change the situation for residents, and it's something that people need to be prepared for. So, with all that happening, our resources as a county and as a community are getting stretched extremely thin. And the implication is that we're really our own best resource. And not only as individuals, but our immediate communities and our neighborhoods. And so, on the one hand, we definitely need to be better prepared as a county. And, I was speaking with Mary Anderson, who's our emergency services coordinator just the other day, whose position actually has been eliminated as of the 28th of December of this year, which is a situation that we really need to correct as a county in our budget. And we need to look to places like Santa Rosa, who've taken their budget for emergency services from $600,000 up to $6 million today. They're a community of comparable size, and we really need to be as prepared as possible for these emergencies because they can have a devastating impact, of course, not only on our lives, but also on the county budget. And so we need to bring full staffing back to our emergency services department, and we need to prepare from the county's perspective. But we also want to, that's going to take some time. I want to make sure that in the meantime, everyone here on this call and everyone in our community is prepared as possible. And that's why I hope tonight you'll learn about some of the resources that are at your disposal through the through CERT and through PG&E as well. And so, and I hope the benefit is that you'll all come away feeling like you are prepared, not scared, and better able to deal with the emergencies that we're facing. And of course, I wanted to add one last thing as far as upcoming emergencies, which is, the debris flows that we all know will happen as a result of the fires. I mean, we saw that in Santa Barbara, devastating loss of life there in the Montecito neighborhood. And we know that it's going to be an issue here as well. The fire has destroyed a lot of the forest canopy, as well as undergrowth, which means more rain reaches the ground and it can cause debris flows very quickly. And you don't have a lot of time to respond or get out. It's actually can happen a lot faster even than a fire. So one more reason to be prepared. So we have two great guests here tonight. Stu Roth, Senior Public Safety Specialist with PG&E.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Stu, thank you for joining us. And Mary Edmund, who is the Executive Director of CERT, which is the Community Emergency Response Team. And you both have such really very rich backgrounds. I was hoping that for starters, you could just tell us a little bit about your overall career and what got you to the position that you are in today, because it's really a lot more than the current title you hold. So Stu, maybe you could start us off.
Well, actually, I was going to let Mary, if that's all right with you, because this lady's background is absolutely amazing. And I hope she goes all the way back to give us that. And she's hard to follow. So that's why I figure I can follow her. So go ahead, Mary.
Okay. Well, well, if you want me to go all the way back, I started at 17 when I joined the Army because I wanted to get out of Kansas. I knew if I didn't find some financial way of getting out, so I joined the Army. And fortunately for me, they had a scholarship program for nurses. And I was able to get that scholarship, and I went to Walter Reed and trained there. And then this was during the Vietnam War, and of course they needed nurses, so I was sort of on my way to Vietnam. But this lucky star looked down on me and said, we forgot to assign nurses to Hawaii. Do you mind changing to go to Hawaii instead of Vietnam? And so I said, oh, okay, I'll do that for you. I'll do you a favor. So anyway, from there on, I was in the military, served as a nurse in Hawaii for 4 years, and then I moved to Washington, D.C. and joined a reserve unit. And that's where I really got a lot of disaster preparedness. I worked in many different kinds of hospitals, station hospitals, mobile hospitals, general hospitals, and all the different kind of field things that reservists do. So I learned about really basic medicine and how you deal in a disaster. And from there, I decided to go back on active duty, and I worked for the rest of my career at the Pentagon. And I was able to do a lot of different things. I worked with NATO, which was quite interesting, and all the different countries. They were quite surprised to have a woman that had rank. But anyway, from there, so I had a lot of different experiences that a lot of people haven't had. And I also was able to have great mentors. And so I ended up retiring as a colonel, full colonel. And I moved to at 47, because if you join at 17, 30 years is 47. And so at that point in time, I had my retirement, so I decided to become a career volunteer. And I worked 16 years helping the Homeless Garden to incorporate as a nonprofit, and did all their financials until they got to about almost $1 million. And I said, you got to pay someone to do this. I can't do this anymore. And then I decided that I needed to do something more locally. I live in Aptos, and going down to Santa Cruz, I decided I wanted to do something local. And I had taken a CERT course and said, you know, this is something we need to do. And the firefighter there said he needed help. So I said, I'll help you set up some things. And a group of us neighbors got together after taking the course and said, boy, this county is in bad straits. We don't have anything for emergency. We need to do something. So we started a nonprofit, and that was in 2015. We had 3 people in the auxiliary, the CERT auxiliary. And then over time, in 5 years now, we have about 1,600 people that volunteer. And the whole mission of the CERT auxiliary is to form cohesive units that have the skills and knowledge and confidence to act as immediate responders in neighborhoods where, you know, first responders can't get to in a disaster. And then we also have from the county, the ability to, we sustain and manage the CERT program for the entire county. And we get no money from the county. There's no budgeted money from the county. So we raise all our money through grants and donations. And so that's sort of how I got here. I'm sorry it took so long.
Oh, no, that's an incredible history. Yeah.
Right?
It sounds like you outrank us all.
Yeah.
Well, that's my previous life. Now I'm in the CERT. So that's gone now.
Thank you for everything you do for our community. It's really impressive. Thank you. Stu, yeah.
Yeah.
You asked to follow that, so.
I know I did, because it's just so amazing. I mean, her commitment to the community, and, you know, Mary's just her background. I mean, I could sit there and just talk to her for hours and be in awe. So you get, as a community, very, very lucky to have somebody like that. So my name's Stu. I'm a senior public safety specialist out of the Central Coast. I'm one of 26 of us that are spread out through the state of California. And my primary function is to work with emergency operation centers, do instruction for CERT, fire, police in responding to gas and electrical emergencies, and then any special projects, programs, course development, curriculum development that we need done. And then right now during the wildland fires, I respond as an agency rep at the incident itself, and work to, you know, get our PG&E crews side by side with the fire crews like we did in Santa Cruz County, so that we can, you know, rapidly get things going, assess, and start planning our rebuild as we have in Santa Cruz County. Prior to coming to PG&E, I did almost 38 years in the fire service, retiring as a division commander with Monterey Fire Department. During those times, I worked in training, I worked in safety, I worked in special operations, our USAR team, I was also a safety officer and a plans team member for California Task Force 3, which is one of 28 FEMA-based USAR teams that travels all over the nation for big emergencies. And then from there, I went on to as a shift division chief, where I spent the last of my 5 years responding and commanding incidents. I started, a guy named Roger Reed and myself started what was the American Red Cross emergency or earthquake preparedness class. And then we built it into NERT, and because that was first before CERT, and then Roger and his team took it to CERT in Monterey. And right now it's run by Demi Castros, who is just a phenomenal leader. And he, you know, lots to learn from. City of Monterey took a very, very aggressive approach. They had some really good community board members that were very active in raising funds. You know, Monterey has a nice, out of their TOT tax that they get, their transit auditing tax, 1% of that goes to parks and buildings and facilities and things like that. That is a community-based choice of what they want to use that money for. And so they've put trailers in really strategic areas, purchased radios. They do, you know, monthly drills on radios. They've got all sorts of training equipment. They have several portable trailers with generators and things like that that they've just been able to fund and so forth. So, you know, it was neat to start it and to see where it is today. And so I've always had a love for emergency preparedness. You know, I see what's, you know, I was on duty in the Loma Prieta earthquake. And so I remember that, and that was, Monterey was nothing more than really a gas emergency, but how hit Santa Cruz County was so significant. And I was in the EOC for 3 days, I think, but we had crews up in that area for days on end, helping, supporting, and so forth. I do a lot of teaching for rescue systems, which is designed to how to handle earthquake type responses, incident command system, because I think it's the one, I'm one of those people that goes, you know what? Okay, you got this great EOC and it's all connected via wire, and you've got this thing called, you know, EOC, web EOC, where you can talk to each other. I'm the guy that says, okay, the internet is broken, the power is not on, what's your plan? Because I think we've gotten to a point where we're relying too much on technology, and we still have to have those basic concepts in there. As technology gets more reliable, I'm good, but we still should always have a backup plan, and all communities should. And that's where CERT really comes in. And I'm a strong believer in that. I'm a believer that we should be doing more preparedness for our communities, more and more. You know, that was one of the real things that, you know, working with Rosemary, is she gives her heart to that county, and the loss of that position is huge, because now who's going to coordinate the drills? Who's going to interface with the utility companies and make sure that our plans are migrating to the same way? Who's going to work on evacuation studies, right? So you need somebody that's day-to-day, that's coordinating that stuff, and ensuring that that's getting done. Because I'm just telling you, you know, I've seen it in Monterey where they had a full-time person, and now I don't think they may have a part-time person running it. But, you know, when I talk to people in that area, and I talk to my friends that are still chief officers, there's a big concern about preparedness. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right. And just to remind the audience, Rosemary is our current emergency services manager, whose position I mentioned was recently cut with the county, and will just be here through the end of the year. And so we really, as Stu was saying, need to make sure that we have that position intact, and need to look at refunding it. And Stu, speaking of funding things, I think maybe you misspoke, but when you said that 1% of the Monterey County's TOT tax goes to, you said parks, but did you mean emergency services?
No, it actually goes to the community, and I'm drawing a blank right now, but the TOT tax, the community gets 1% of that money, and they have a huge committee, and they submit projects anywhere from a new park to CERT boxes to beach, you know, going ahead and putting new beach places in, beach landings in, you know, all to develop the community. And it was what the city agreed with, so that they could give money back to the community, because it's a tourist destination. and use that money to beautify the neighborhoods. Neighborhood beautification programs, a new neighborhood beautification program.
Right. So sort of citizen-initiated programs that included some emergency services at
Yes.
the behest of the community.
Yes.
Got it.
And these trailers are not just a little trailer. They're like a box that you open up and everything that you could possibly need is there. Radios, everything. They're able to, and they have like 6 of them. It cost about $10,000 to create one of these. But the city has them stationed throughout the area. So when there's an emergency, they have exactly what they need and they can just report and get going.
That's the city of Monterey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we had a debate with the Loma Prieta Community Foundation and the Loma Prieta Club last week, and I know they have some containers like that in the Summit area, if I'm correct. But it sounds like in our community in Santa Cruz County, that's something we're missing today that we need. Is that right?
Well, I think we need to look at it. I think might be nice to have some equipment pre-positioned because it would be hard to get it there. But that's, we need the people first and then we get the equipment. But I think we need to think about it. I'm not saying that's necessarily, we have a much larger area. Plus we have such different topography within the community that what works for one area may not work for another.
Mm-hmm. Right. So
to contribute to that, I would say that, what they did is they put them in neighborhoods. So every, neighborhood community, like the Oak Knoll neighborhood and the downtown neighborhood association. So they put them in the association neighborhood areas. And they did that tactically so that when an event occurred, everybody knew where to go to the trailer, and they could then do a roll call at that trailer and then be dispersed or dispatched to incidents, and we'd have accountability. You'd have a stronger incident command system supporting those and made it safer for the CERTs and community residents to respond. And so, Santa Cruz County is totally different than the city of Monterey, but I think strategically it really benefits when you start thinking about how do I rally these people, where do they rally to, and things like that.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a natural rallying point.
Correct.
But I think we have something set up where there's rally. We've set up along the fire districts. So if you live in Felton, the fire district for Felton area is our CERT district.
Oh, good.
So we have 11 teams set up through the county based on the fire service areas. And that's where we rally. And with this recent fire, half of our community was evacuated. So, but we were still able to respond. We worked for 3 weeks. We were activated for 3 weeks. We spent over 2,000 hours with 129 different people supporting the community, helping evacuees, helping them at the Fire Resource Center. We passed out water in Boulder Creek where they couldn't drink the water. We had someone in the EOC acting as safety officer for a few days. So we did a lot of different things to help the community. It's probably over $5,000 worth of time and effort that we provided. And so I think we have the capability, and we're really new. When you think we're only 5 years old, we have a really great potential. And what this activation showed was that we are teaching the right things. We're teaching people how to work as a team, how to do situation awareness, how to be flexible. And those are the things that, you don't get just in the average person. And we also on how to stay safe, to analyze the situation so you don't hurt yourself. And so we proved that our education was good and that the people that are CERT really want to help. They're there to help the community, and they're very committed. And that was exciting to see, because that just shows we're on the right road, we're on the right path, and we're going to get there. It's just going to take a little more time and effort, and we're in the process. We're going to analyze what we learned and hopefully factor them into the program in the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. The program's only 5 years old and you've already got 1,600 members. And I mean, I think in some ways the COVID forcing you to move your program online could be a good thing. I mean, I think you're going to see a lot of demand now, and hopefully this program tonight too will help more people be aware and get you some new CERT members. So, to that effect, as I said, starting us off here, we all need to know what we can do to be more prepared for an emergency. So could you help us understand, what are the top 3 things we could do, in our free time this weekend to become more emergency prepared? And, then how does that relate to the programs that you're operating?
Well,
Go ahead, Mary.
just state real quickly, I think plan. You got to plan. You got to know what you're going to do when the emergency hits. You can't wait till the emergency happens. So you need to have a plan for your family. Physically, what you're going to do. Is your car ready? Are you going to take your pets? All those kinds of things. If your kids aren't home, how are you going to meet? There's so many different ways that you can plan ahead. And that's really what helped a lot of people in the evacuation, because they knew what they were going to do and they were able to do it.
And can I ask, Mary, is there any difference between, an earthquake or a fire or a debris flow? Is there any difference in the way that people have to respond to these things?
Most likely in an earthquake, we're going to have to shelter in place,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no way we're going to be able to evacuate 750,000 people on Highway 1. We can't even go on Highway 1 at 5 o'clock on a Thursday. And that's come back again just recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, most likely earthquakes will be sheltering in place, whereas with a fire, you got to leave. You're not going to stay there. So it just depends on what it is. And so that's why we prepare people for everything and to be flexible. And that's what really makes a huge difference. So I'll let Stu come up with the next idea.
No, those are all great suggestions that Mary just talked about. I think it's important that as part of that plan that you have 3 days worth of water. What we used to teach, and I still really advocate for it, is get a big garbage can and plastic garbage can, and you put in the water, you put in a change of clothes, a pair of shoes. If you've got glasses, get another pair, put those in there, whatever you need to do. If you have young children, put in, a couple of coloring books, so that you have a basic preparedness that you can take that in the event of an earthquake. You can have that available if there's severe damage and you can't get water. You need to learn how to turn off your gas. Most of the areas when you get up higher is all propane. But you got to learn how to turn off propane too, because if you don't, and that tank rolls because it's not mounted properly, you've just got leaking, propane. And propane likes to sink and go down and find an ignition source. But natural gas, being lighter than air, is going to want to go up. Now, I remember during the Loma Prieta as an example, the news media got on there and they started telling everybody, turn off your gas, turn off your gas, turn off your gas. So in Monterey County, we didn't have a big damage issue. What we had a gas emergency, because all of these communities, these people had turned off their gas, right? Well, now to go ahead and light it, PG&E needs to come out. We need to inspect everything because we want to make sure everything's good for you. We'll clean it, and then we'll go ahead and turn the gas on and we'll light your appliances, right? Well, if you think about that, you're talking 10,000 customers. We were bringing task forces, we were bringing mutual aid up all the way from San Diego and LA because we just didn't have the resources because it wasn't just Monterey, it was Salinas, it was all these other places in our territory. So I think it's important to note that, again, know how to shut off your gas, but it doesn't mean you have to shut off your gas. If you smell the gas outside when you're walking around, that's gas from gas lines or somebody else's broken meter. And the best way to do it is take a look at your meter. And if all those dials are spinning really fast, that means you've got a break in your system, okay? Because they shouldn't all be moving very fast, right? You can sit there and say, well, I'll just wait till I smell gas. Well, with gas, they put what's called mercaptan in there. It's an odorant, and it's designed because natural gas is lighter than air, and you can't smell it. Okay, so they put mercaptan in it. Well, that mercaptan is great because you could smell it, and then it fills up your olfactory in your nostril area, and then you lose that scent. So, have you ever gone to a restaurant and walked in the door and go, oh, that smells so good, but about 5 minutes later, you don't smell it? right? Because it's all just gone up and filled up your own factory. So natural gas does the same thing. So once you smell natural gas, you've got to act on it real quick.
Got it. Okay, so it sounds like prepare the items that you're going to need to take with you in emergency. Put it in a garbage can if you need to, so it's all together. Be prepared to shut off your gas. Have 3 days worth of water. And what's it? How much is a day worth of water? Is that like
a gallon per person? A gallon per person per day.
Okay,
and
great.
Don't forget your pets as well. And then the other thing that people don't think about is money. I have little catches of money all over. I have some in my car. And it's small bills, because if you don't have small bills, everything's going to cost $20 because people aren't going to have cash, and the registers won't be working.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have money if you think you're going to be around for a while.
Right. Okay.
And then the other thing that people could do this weekend that would be fun is just take their phone and go around their house and take pictures of everything in their house. Just do a little video, and then maybe even open some drawers, because I was talking to a friend that lost her home, and she goes, I don't know what I had. I don't know what was in those drawers. I can't remember everything. And yet the insurance company wants an inventory of everything. Mm-hmm. So that would be something that would be fun to do. And then you would have it for documentation purposes. It could go up in the cloud. You don't have to worry about keeping it around, or I have a little flash drive that I have on my car keys. Mm-hmm. And I put everything that I think is important on that. And then I have it with me when I need it.
Right. Yeah, Lizanne Jensen from the Fire Safe Council, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, has a great letter about cataloging everything in her house. I think maybe she started with the photos and then wrote out everything. And then on the top of each page kind of said, okay, well, that's one thing that I definitely can't live without, and I'm going to take with me. So it's sort of a process, I think, that you start with the photos, make a list, and then identify the must-haves. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then let's go to the next step. I think if that's everything that we can do sort of individually, Mary, so much of CERT is really about then also building a neighborhood team and identifying sort of the liabilities, people who might need more help, or issues that might need to be addressed quickly, like shutting off gas, and the assets in the community, right? Figuring out who's a doctor or nurse or other things like that. So, how should one go about getting your neighborhood together and starting to?
Yeah, basically we have a program that we promote where you look at 8 to 20 homes. You take a small number of homes, and we're talking about an urban environment, not an area, not a rural area. A rural area, maybe only 5 or 6 homes because of the distance between them. And the idea is that you get together with your neighbors, and you could do this outside in somebody's backyard. And there's a video that we have that's on YouTube, or we have copies of discs. It's also on our website. And you run through all the things that you need to do in emergency. And it takes advantage of that, what we call the golden hour. It's the first hour after disaster. And if you're mobilized and you know what to do and someone to do it, you can save lives. You can decrease the damage to property. And, so it allows people to say ahead of time, okay, I'll be the house where people can come if they don't want to be by myself. I'll be the house where people that are injured will come. I'll do search and rescue. I'll go around these houses, our neighborhood houses, and make sure everyone's okay or not. And then you also identify where the gas shutoffs are, electrical shutoffs, those things on each house, because sometimes they can be different. And then you identify, like you said, the allies, the physicians, the nurses, the construction people that have tools of like a chainsaw or something that you might need in a disaster. And you identify all these things ahead of time, then that way you're able to respond quickly and help your community. And if you get a neighborhood that works together like this, neighborhood is just so much better prepared. There's a better quality of life in that community because people know one another. We're social beings. It's important to know one another. And with COVID, I've seen how people have been helping their neighbors. And this is just a handy way to go about it that has 9 steps. It takes about 2.5 hours to go through it. there's not the investment of time that like becoming CERT is. But a lot of CERT people do this for their neighborhood because they feel that it's very valuable. And I've had several people email me since the fire, and they said, if it wasn't for Map Your Neighborhood, some of our people wouldn't have known to evacuate because they didn't get the word. But we did because we had our neighborhoods, we contacted everyone because we had done Map Your Neighborhood. So that was sort of nice to hear.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love that, here we are in COVID and we've all been hunkering down and sheltering in place. And now, as we see, hey, it's not the only emergency or disaster that we're dealing with. There's a real reason to get together as a neighborhood, albeit safely outside, but really to figure out how we're going to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so that's the Map Your Neighborhood program. And you said it's 2.5 hours. So
well, it depends on how long you want it to be, but minimally between 2.5 hours. So it's not a lot of investment of time, but it's a big payoff later on. And then after you do it, about every 6 months, you just recontact people, make sure everyone's still okay, because there's a lot of movement of people in and out of neighborhoods. So that, and I know some people make it like they have a big party. Well, maybe not now, but in the future they have like a party, and then they have a raffle and people get certain emergency things and to encourage people to come.
mm-hmm.
It just depends on how you want to do it. And we even have one neighborhood that is set up a radio emergency protocol where everyone has MERS radios so they can contact one another. This is a rural community that has broad, vast, 2 or 3 acre properties. So they need to communicate, and this worked really well for them. And they're connected to our CERT network because there's several CERTs in that community. And then they have a radio network that they set up. So it's whatever you decide to do. It takes that one person that wants to do it, though. You got to get that one person, and then it sort of catches on. Then more people want to do it.
Right. So all of you here tonight, you have the opportunity to be that one person for your neighborhood.
And just one last thing, we provide the booklets. The CERT Auxiliary buys the booklets and will give to the people that want to do it. So if you're interested in doing it, we're happy to provide, because we don't want you to have to spend the money for the booklets. And, so this way we sort of support the communities by sharing what we can give them.
Got it. Stu, is there anything you want to add to that as far as communities?
No, I love Mary's speech, and I would agree. You're not being asked a lot to give back to your community. And I know so many people in Santa Cruz County, especially, there's a lot of volunteering that takes place. But, in Monterey, we recruited high school kids that were, juniors and seniors, because they need they need credit, for volunteering. We were fortunate because we have the military bases. So we do get, some of the younger military people there that are just looking to do something else, to either for the resume or, for promotions and stuff like that. And then Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, we scan it all, because developing that sense of volunteerism is so important to today's youth. It's almost in a lot of ways, it's something that's kind of fading away. So where most of us have grown up in that volunteerism and volunteering for your community. I think that's how I got started in the fire service, is volunteering starting at the age of 16. So I think that is a great way to promote that. So, make it a family fair. We in Monterey, we have families that do the whole thing, and it's always neat, and they enjoy it. So I would just add that as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, that students actually have these requirements in some cases to be volunteers, so they can be real allies.
We've had several people take the CERT course because they get community credit for it. And if you're 16 and above, you're allowed to take CERT. Because of the subject matter, not everyone is mature enough to handle some of the things that we talk about. So we ask that they get parental consent, but anyone 16 and above, and we'd like to see a parent with them, but it's not necessary, but we prefer it.
Right. So it sounds like, okay, this is something that the Map Your Neighborhood program you can do in 2.5 hours minimum. Obviously, it's better the more you can do, the better. But Mary, help me understand, if someone was really wants to take on the CERT certification, I guess, what else are they going to learn? And what throughout that 12 and a half, or it's a 12-hour course online, and then
a 12-hour course online, and then we're working on like an 8 to 10 hour 2-session hands-on training, because the course online is didactic. You just get, information. You don't get the hands-on, and a lot of part of CERT is learning how to do things like bandaging and splinting and putting on a tourniquet or pressure dressing or putting out a fire. The kinds of things we do is we encourage critical thinking. I think that's one of the most important things, and how to be safe. But in addition, people learn how to do light search and rescue, putting out small fires, basic first aid, cribbing, how to be safe around utilities. I'll let Stu talk about that, because there's a lot of things you need to know about utilities to be safe. And then, and then learning what we call the incident command system, which is the structure of how every county agency really works. The fire department, the law, they have a way of managing incidents, and you need to know how to do it so you fit in with the people you're working with. You use the same language, you have the same understanding, there's a chain of command, and certain things that are necessary to make the system work. And that's really important. And it's hard at first because we're not used to thinking that way, but it really isn't that difficult once you get into it, and it makes a huge difference in how you are, how you're able to fit in, and also how you're looked at and respected with the other professional responders in emergencies.
Right. So you're developing a language to work with your neighborhood. You're developing the chain of command, as you said. And what also strikes me there is you also have a greater understanding of what's happening at the macro scale with the county, with the utilities, with the sheriff and fire department, and have a greater sense of how maybe to work with those resources as well.
Correct.
And Stu, Mary said, what awareness should we have around utilities? I mean, you talked about gas, but
certainly. So, in our training that we offer, we talk about, number one, the hazards associated with electrical and gas emergencies. And we have some really good videos that kind of highlight, things that we don't commonly think about. If on a stormy night, you need to have a flashlight on all the time and looking down. And just because a wire is on the ground and it isn't arcing around doesn't mean that field is energized, right? So it's knowing those type of things, what to do in those kind of emergencies, realizing that, hey, even the best of CERTs, again, people are going to do what they want to do. Your job is to warn them of the hazards and protect yourself. But, again, people are going to be people. So we really emphasize that in part of that training. And then in gas emergencies, we just talk about all the potential hazards that are out there. We have some great videos of things blowing up to really show. And I mean, it's things so simple, like, if you took like Boulder Creek area, right, in that downtown area, that would be one, or the Felton area. You took an area like that. Even if you had a small leak, right, from a backhoe operator, that can migrate into a building and find an ignition source, right? If a gas line and a sewer line make contact with each other, by some sort of damage or something like that, that gas is going to travel up that sewer line, and it's going to start finding its way in homes, through the traps and to the ignition source. So, I mean, it's really important that people understand the hazards associated with it. And it's not anything to be, I mean, people are, oh, God, I never want to touch electrical or anything else. Yeah, I don't like getting shocked either. But if you follow some basic principles, you're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. And what do people need to know about working with PG&E as an entity, and being able to expect someone to come out and work with different, whatever it is, down power lines, or when should people step in themselves, and what can they expect from the utility?
Well, here's what I would say. Anytime that you are you see something like that, you call 911 right away. Okay. I mean, just you get that vehicle rolling from the fire department and the police department, right? You can be there and warn people, or, you know, direct cars away with that knowledge and the training. You know, you have to have, you need to have a vest, you need to have some sort of identification, because again, a lot of police officers and firefighters are either seriously injured or killed because people driving aren't looking at the person directing the traffic. They're looking at the problem, and they end up hitting the persons directing the traffic. So you want to make sure that you know how to move cars around, how to direct traffic, and that you're visible and using a flashlight at night. But definitely call 911. And then the next thing you can do is call the 1-800-743-5000. Again, that's 1-800-PGE 5000, and report it to them as well. Now, knowing that, you know, again, it just helps for another notification, but the fire units, as they're responding, get on the radio, call NetCom, which is your dispatch center, and request PG&E right away. So, you know, again, so then you'll get the local, you know, get the local T-man or the gas person coming out to take care of whatever that problem is.
Got it. Right. So don't try to fix everything yourself. Call 911. Get the utility truck rolling out towards you. Yeah.
You'd be surprised the type of the people that, you know, civilians trying to, you know, do what they think is the right thing. They'll, you know, try to get in there and pinch off the gas and cause some sort of a friction, and there's an ignition, and they're, you know, then, you know, they're burning. Mm-hmm. And so you want to just really isolate areas, you know, get people staying back, and, you know, use the training you would get in CERT to protect, you know, the community.
Well, we supplement our training with Stu's training. He does an excellent training that goes into distribution lines and all the different things. How do you know if there's a buried line or not? All the different aspects of it that we don't have the time to do in CERT. But we believe in once people get trained in CERT, to continue to learn. And so we offer a lot of continuing education in different areas that expands what they've learned or refreshes them of what they learned, because these skills are very fragile, and if you don't use them, you lose them. So we have to keep training people. And like, I think I've taken Stu's course 3 times, and I've learned something new every time, because there's so much. And if you've never had it before, it takes a little while to sort through it all, but it's a great course. He's a great instructor.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure you both are. We've got just a few questions here from the audience, and for those of you listening, if you have questions that have come up, feel free to use the Q&A feature here to ask a question. So let's see, we've just got a comment by Wutya Sweats, if I'm saying that right.
Voucha. Voucha, yeah.
Voucha, okay, so great. Just to, again, reiterate that people get a gas meter shutoff wrench, and different meters have different size wrenches, and San Lorenzo Lumber and Ace sell them. So yeah, I noticed that in some of your documents too, Mary, that you know, just get a wrench, and what you usually just tape it to the,
or like
basket.
tie it, or have it right there so you can like instantly turn it off if you need to. You don't have to go look for one.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Same with water. Make sure you have a water turn off if you don't have one in your house.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Good advice. John D. Gum says, or asks, could Santa Cruz County supervisors earmark 1% of TOT hotel tax for neighborhood preparedness? I think the answer is that absolutely we could. I mean, we have the model in Monterey. It sounds like that we could work with and adopt, and that would definitely be something, especially after this evening and this conversation, I'm interested in looking into further. Is because we do need to identify funds for more emergency preparedness overall, and I think especially if that's coming from neighborhoods saying, hey, we need this, it's a good way to incentivize neighborhoods to become more prepared and take on some of that, and then also give people more resources.
And the good part of it is the community isn't paying for it. It's all the people that are, you know, clogging your streets and roads coming to visit, you know, that area and stay at the hotels. And that's where that money is coming from. So it's a way of giving back to the county, if you will, or the city or whoever does it to, again, reinforce and support the community. And I think that's a wonderful idea. I've always thought it's great because, Santa Cruz County is very unique in the way it's laid out, the topography, the isolation of one way in, kind of one way out over the hill. You've got a lot of roads that are just one way out. And I think that, doing something like that over time, it's going to add up and you can really make a difference with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so that gets, Mary, did you want to say something to that?
Well, just we might have to be sheltering in place, and this way it's strategically located, equipment that you might need, and you would have it. You wouldn't have to go searching for it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So, and Stu, you brought up the point of getting in and out of the county, presumably at a time when we're not sheltering in place. And that brings me to Suzanne's question, who asked, I'm concerned about how people will get out of the county. How will roads be impacted? How do we compare to other counties? And yeah, so also maybe can either you speak to that as far as getting in and out of the county. I mean, obviously we've got 17, Highway 1, 101, 152, 156. I mean, there's a few options there, but anyone.
It's the capacity of those options is the difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
I always and I have RV lust, because I think having an RV is the greatest thing you can have, because you put everything that you need in there. If you have to stay in place, you got it. You have to move, you can go. So, I mean, it's just really a wonderful thing you can have already for an emergency. And plus you can use it for fun too.
Mm-hmm.
It's, but I think the capacity of the roads is our dilemma, and I don't know if we'll ever get out of that. That's why I'm thinking some things we're going to have to stay where we are.
Yeah, and I think we saw that, with the fire, is that it's not necessarily even that you have to leave the county as so much as just escape whatever the immediate threat is. And so obviously to that extent, creating more escape routes, charting, looking at places where maybe roads could be connected. I have a friend who lives up Hidden Valley Road, and they connect to I think it's Pontus Lane. In any case, there's a lot of places where roads are close together where that we could make more emergency escape routes. And then, yeah, making sure that there's capacity in our county for people in the short term, whether places like the fairgrounds, places where if their homes are destroyed, where we have short and midterm housing capacity for people in the county.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne also asked, how about boats getting us out? But
that's a good thought.
To that point, it's critical and it's imperative on everybody's to be prepared. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the theme of this tonight and so forth, is having prepared, just changing your daily habits, like making sure your car is filled up with gas, right? I know a lot of people, they're down on, on E going, I'll just get it tomorrow morning on the way to work. Well, if you have to evacuate that night and you're trying to get out of there really fast, you may not have enough gas to get down there, or it's closed. So then you become the block in the road. Remember that, you can escape in a car in a fire, you can get through there, but you generally can't get through a mud flow, because if a mud flow is anywhere around 2 inches or so, you're looking at anywhere between 6,000 and 12,000 pounds of force. And if you try to go through that, it'll just take your car right into the drainage. So, you want to understand what you can drive on and what you can't drive on. And then, just knowing where to go. I really have to say that I thought that Santa Cruz County did a marvelous job. All the citizens up in the area of the fire, the sheltering, everything else like that. I felt like the OES portion of it, the incident command portion of it, the operation of it functioned very, very well. I was talking to the fire chief of Boulder when the fire started, and you could hear the captain on the radio say, yeah, we've got about a 400-foot rapid rate of spread in brush and vegetable, and it's spotting 10 miles out. That's a fire you're not going to put out real quick. You just can't. And with the way our communities are, with climate change, all of that, we're just going to see more and more of these mega fires as they come through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Santa Rosa, they've responded to the huge fire they had in 2017, but they've had another fire pretty much every year since then. So it's
the August fire, which is up north. It's a complex fire. Is I think this morning my boss reported it was over 1 million acres. That's a lot of land.
That's a lot.
I don't remember having a fire that big in the history of California.
I think it's the biggest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're having those big fires. That's it. And I think you can't just put your head in the sand and say, oh, it's not going to happen to me, because it's showing that we're having more and more. And so you just need to every month buy something or decide you're going to do something, work out a plan, and little by little just go through it all. On our website, there's a lot of information. It's santacruzcountysert.org. There's a boatload of information on almost anything you could want to know about. Plus there's sites that lead you to other places.
I'm going to share, since you're bringing up the website.
I see.
Mary, I'm just sharing that with everyone here.
Yeah, you're on the pictures. Let's see if you can
go back.
There you go. That's better. And it just you have your training. There's resources. That's like you talked about Liz Ann Jensen. This is her preparedness kit. I mean, she's got it all. She is like the Cadillac of the prepared person. She has everything. She's been evacuated 3 times, so she knows what she needs to do. So she has some information on our site. Plus then we have a lot of training that people can do. A lot of them is for CERTs, but also we do different trainings that people in the community can take. You just have to look to see if it states it's for CERTs or for anyone to take.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, so I'm very interested now in taking the CERT training. For my time's pretty committed for the next 5 weeks, but after that I'll be ready. And,
okay.
And so once I start, I mean, it sounds like there's no set time when I have, I can start taking the 12-hour online course at any time, right?
Well, we ask people to contact us so we can get a know who's taking the course, so we don't get all these people taking it, we don't know about it. And then after you've completed the 12 hours, then you'll sign up for 2 4-hour trainings. And we're going to do them on a Saturday morning from 8 to noon. That's our plan. We may change it depending on how that's received. And then you'll become CERT. And the second training, you'll get a pack filled with personal protective gear to help you get started. And then, you'll join a team. We like people to join teams. We have teams spread out throughout the county. And then you'll work with that team for exercises and to learn more about CERT. Plus then the auxiliary puts on a lot of additional trainings like Stu's class, so that people become more prepared. And we have a requirement for 25 hours of continuing education every 5 years. It's not super hard to do, but it just makes people continue to learn and grow in their role as CERT.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Yeah. And are those training sessions that are on the weekend, those 4-hour sessions, are they at any, is it once a month or?
Well, for the CERT training, after you do the 2, you're done. You will become FEMA certified.
Okay.
And then after that, then you do trainings through your teams, through county-wide exercises. We try to do a lot of different things so that people can stay more current.
Got it. Great. A few more questions have come in here, so I want to see if you guys can help us with these. So from Julianne Colligan, she asked, what escape options for one-way in, one-way out areas if you can't use the road? So she lives up Glen Haven Road. What do you do there?
I'm not familiar with Glen Haven Road specifically, but there are a lot of areas in Santa Cruz that only have one way in. And they're in isolated areas where odds are the first responders aren't going to be coming. The professional responders aren't going to be there for a while because they're dealing with a lot of issues all at once. And in the beginning, it takes them a while to figure out what their plan is. So you're going to be on your own. And so these areas are really perfect for CERT teams because you set up, you take care of your neighborhood and your people, you do the basic things to keep people safe until that first responder, professional responder arrives, or until you can get more help. And, you know, we have a communication network. We work with ARIES so that we use the ham radio. In some cases, there's a lot of CERTs that are also ham. So we're able to communicate and we're able to get information out to the people as well as the information to come back. Part of CERT is really doing surveillance of your neighborhood. So you let them know through our radio network that, hey, our neighborhood is in bad shape, or we're really good, don't worry about us. Mm-hmm. And then that way you'll be put in the queue of help. You know, if they don't know that you're in trouble, no one's going to come. And 911 most likely won't work if it's a really serious emergency.
Right. That's great. So it's a way to make sure your immediate community is prepared to take care of itself and also know how to project your status to the larger community and exactly. Your needs are either immediate or not so immediate. Let's see, John D asks, how could there be more thinning of forests locally to reduce fuel loads? And I know this is a question I've gotten a lot, and I think fundamentally we just need more work crews to address this. I mean, one thing I've looked at is, you know, we've heard a lot of heroic stories about the inmate fire crews, how essential they are, how you know, understaffed we've been locally with throughout the state with the recent fires. And so, you know, are there ways that we can extend those kinds of training programs to more people in the community, make sure that more folks who go through those programs can continue a career in fire afterwards? So those are some of the solutions I'm committed to looking at. And Stu, I know when we talked the other day, you talked a little bit about some of the ways that we could make it easier to, you know, that the county could be a better partner in helping PG&E to clear a broader fire break and clear brush around power lines a little bit more. Do you want to speak to that a little bit? You're on mute. There you go.
What we were talking about was that, you know, when you look at it, we do vegetation management every year, right? It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge. Once we get done going, you know, with that process, we go all the way back and we start to maintain that. What we are trying to do in Santa Cruz County and have been trying for almost over a year now is to do enhanced vegetation management, where we are cleaning more area around the arms of a power pole, and we're going straight up in the trees so that branches aren't coming down and falling on lines, which, you know, again, the beauty of Santa Cruz Mountain, you have a lot of redwood trees, and that's a really safe tree, but it's those pine trees that are just really unstable. And, you know, low roots, dry, some are dead or dying. They tend to have more, you know, fractures. What's interesting, I didn't know this until I came to PG&E, that every tree that falls on our line, we collect data on it. How big it was, number of rings, I mean, they go through so they can take a look and monitor, you know, where those things are safe and where they're not safe. So enhanced vegetation, you know, people need to clear around their homes always. Some homes, if they don't, they may not be savable. You got to keep your roofs clean, got to keep your gutters clean, and have good clearance. I get it. I love the trees. I grew up in Carmel Highlands. I used to, you know, walk from one side of the property to the other in the trees. So it was awesome. But at the same time, we kept those trees at least 50 feet from the house, because we knew that if the wildfire started and it got in the trees and it was right next to the house, we're going to lose the house. So, you know, we had to make those appropriate changes at our house. So, you know, just things to think about in terms of, you know, your preparedness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Mary.
in talking to firefighters, they say we have to significantly change how we manage our forests.
Yes.
We can't do what we're normally doing. We're going to need to do controlled burns and things that they haven't been wanting to do because of the smoke. But we know about smoke. If you don't do a controlled burn, you may get a lot more smoke. So I think we're going to see some changes in forest management that are coming out based on what's happening. The fires are hotter. There's a whole lot of differences than in the past.
Right. Yeah. I mean, a controlled burn could be a good opportunity also for everyone in the area to realize that that's happening. And hey, better look at what brush is against my, or what's growing right against my house today, rather than put that off any longer. We're pretty much out of time. So I just have one more question for you, Mary, which is the training that you're providing, is it FEMA ICS training, or is it your own CERT training?
No, it's FEMA. It's a FEMA certified course based on what they believe that people should know. And it started like in 1983. So they've built on it, and we've just redone the entire curriculum in the end of last year. We redid the entire curriculum. And so it's based on current discovery and knowledge. And so it's constantly being upgraded. And it's very good curriculum. You know, you learn a lot. You learn like a little bit of a lot of things, and then you take the additional training and learn more. And then it's up to you to how much you want to participate. You can either just learn for yourself and your family, you can learn for your neighborhood, or then you can learn to help other people like we did recently in the fire.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. I know I'm convinced to take the training. That idea of just that golden hour when, you've got all that anxiety about, what is it that I need to do? And just the thought of knowing what I would need to do, who to contact, how to work with my neighbors, have some stuff ready. That is reason enough to invest, at least the 2.5 hours that you mentioned of working with your neighborhood. And then really, I think, to look at this training that you're offering. So I hope that all of you who attended tonight are also ready to become champions in your own neighborhoods. You've already invested an hour.
Me too.
Yeah, you've already invested an hour of your time tonight learning a little bit about these things. And I hope you'll take the next step, invest the next 2.5 hours, and become organizers and champions in your neighborhood.
Wonderful. Okay.
So thank you again, Stu and Mary, for joining us. It was really great to have you here to answer questions and share all your expertise.
Thank you very much. And
thank you for allowing us.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'd love to give one email and one website for your people, if that's okay.
Please, yeah, I'll type them into the chat for folks. Perfect.
My email address is Stewart.Roth, STEWART.Roth, ROTH, at PGE.com. Again, that's Stewart.Roth at PGE.com. Any of you that are on the chat tonight, on the show tonight, please don't hesitate to email me if you have any questions and so forth. And then a great website I want to direct everybody to is www.pge/wildfiresafety.com. Again, that's www.pge/.
Is it pge.com/? Sorry.
Wow.
No, it's PG&E.
Wildfire.
Yeah, PG&E Wildfire, PG&E/wildfire.com. I'm almost certain.
I'm going to try this out before I share it with you.
Yeah, because now you got me guessing, and I don't want to do that. I'm glad we talked about it. It's pge.com. Okay, I'm not a techie. /wildfire safety. Again, that's pge.com wildfire safety. And we have a whole bunch of information about how to prepare for fires, how to prepare your home, prepare your family. We have a lot of stuff on webinars for public safety power shutdowns. And I'm certainly happy to come back, Manu, and talk about that in greater detail if we have questions, complete with PowerPoint and slides and the whole bit. And we have great videos, talks about our weather stations in Santa Cruz County and everything that we're doing to enhance our ability to provide a safe and effective infrastructure and energy source to our communities.
That sounds great. Yeah, definitely might take you up on that, Stu. Thank you for sharing those two resources. And again, thank you both for coming tonight. And thank you to everyone who joined us in the audience. Hope this will be recorded. We'll share it with you all via email, and you can feel free to share the recording with friends and neighbors. Thank you all, and have a good night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Take care.
Bye.